Hey guys, this week we're looking at how to massage the foot. I always like to start by warming things up, squeezing everything in the area. Now, I remember when I went to Thailand and I used to get reflexology massages, they always used to do these really invigorating motions, rolling and wiping the foot. And when I really thought about it, the foot has more sensory neurons per square centimeter than any other part of the body. So to wake up the nervous system, especially after we've been locking them up in leather coffins all day, feels so fantastic. After that, I'll go in and assess the joints and see how they're moving. And I'll traction slowly each of the toes. So I'm pulling up, and as I'm doing that, I'm feeling the proximal, the distal, and then with my bottom hand, I'm creating a little more traction for some fascial pull. The foot actually has a quarter of all the bones in your body, so mobilizing and moving all the joints is something that's really important. This one looks a little bit silly, but I love it, is to translate the toe from side to side. So I'll squeeze at the proximal part of the toe to create stabilization, and then translate from side to side. So I'm squeezing and then moving the toe from side to side, increasing joint nutrition. This is more of a reflexology technique, is to rub over the toe and then press down for 5 to 10 seconds. Now, I don't know how or I don't know why, but this has worked really well in my practice, and I've actually had people who have had sinus relief from just doing this. It's also a good way to just create circulation in the area, and it feels really nice. Then I'll go in and do a nice little indirect technique for plantar fasciitis. So here I'm creating some dorsiflexion with the top of my hand and then stretching out through the Achilles tendon with my bottom hand. The one thing I love about working on the foot is that it's so easy to create so many different movements and to get active releases. After that, I'll go in and release the heel. So I'm taking 2 knuckles and I'm just stretching out all along the heel, and I'm pulling the foot to the other side. And I'll do this on both sides. Then I'll go in and I'll work the lateral side of the foot. And once again, I'm pulling the foot to the other side and stretching out all of the tissue. And I'll repeat it on both sides. This is a really nice one, and something that's often overlooked is to take the toes, pull them back, and then along the metatarsal heads, you're creating a nice circulation. So I'm pulling them back, and as I'm doing that with 2 knuckles, I'm just stretching out everything underneath the toes. This one is another indirect technique for plantar fasciitis, and it's called strain counter strain. So I'm pressing down into the sole of the foot, and as I do that, I'm positioning the foot in the position of ease. So I'm folding everything around my hand. Then you can go in and take the toes, slowly stretch them, and pull through all the tissue. I like to use 2 knuckles, and I'll start at the midline, and as I slowly pull the toes up and stretch them, I'm stretching down the entirety of the foot. I'll then move to the lateral side and eventually get to the medial side as well. Here's one that's really important and often not talked about, is the Tibialis posterior tendon. Anyone with sciatic pain, low back pain, this could actually be the cause. So what I'm doing here is I'm pressing down on the tendon, and I'm waiting for about 30 or 90 seconds for it to relax. The tibial nerve actually runs along the sciatic nerve, and it runs into L4 and L5. Once again, once you feel release, you'll start to feel a little bit of a spasming, and then you'll know that the tendon has released. This one is more of an osteopathic technique. So I'll interlace my fingers just at the talus, and then my thumbs are on the pads of the foot, and I'm bending my elbows and I'm pulling back. And this creates a nice traction. For anyone who wears high heels, this feels fantastic. Then I'll go in and I'll pull the foot down and back and mobilize along the tib-fib joint. This one is nice for anyone with knee pain, and it creates a lot of movement in the talus to alleviate anyone who wears high heels a lot. Then I'll do a nice little stretch through the extensor retinaculum. So I'm getting her to dorsiflex her feet. And then as she does that, I'm taking my fingertips and I'm just stretching out all of the tissue and getting her to slowly bring her foot down as I stretch up through the ankle into the lower leg. I'll get her to bring it back, and I'll just show you guys here from another angle standing up. So she dorsiflexes her toes, and as she does that, I'm slowly stretching up through the extensor retinaculum, and I'm pulling up through the ankle into the lower leg as she stretches out her toe. And finally, this is a really nice technique, is to go in between each tendon with your fingertip and to break up all the adhesions between the tendons. This side of the foot oftentimes doesn't get enough love, and this is a technique that helps to open up everything in the area. And once again, you're hydrating the tissue, breaking up adhesions, and creating more ease of movement. Before I leave you guys today, I actually have a pretty interesting fact that apparently a human being walks around 115,000 kilometers during their lifetime. And that's actually the equivalent of walking around the earth 4 times, which I think is pretty crazy. But once again, if you're someone who's lazy, maybe about 2 times around the earth. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. Have a great week.